with AI and everything kind of being bolted on now, and you mentioned Claude with the ability to build. What is your take on, build versus buy as it is today?
Absolutely. So again, my honest take, I default to build. And I know that's very different, I think, than most
Mhm.
RevOps, leaders would say, but let me tell you why.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Revenue Optimists. This is a space where revenue teams, operators, and leaders can really share advice, learn, and grow together. I'm Rebecca. I get to talk to amazing revenue leaders all the time. And today I'm really excited to chat with Robee. I will let you introduce yourself, but Robee, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I am Robbie Pilgrim. I have been in the revenue operations world for almost 30 years before it was called revenue operations. And so excited to be here and share all the experience I have and knowledge from the last 30 years in my career.
AI has dramatically, changed the landscape today. And you had mentioned that revenue operations has already changed. It didn't even exist when you first started in the industry. So I'm curious to hear your take on, where it's going and how you think it's going to affect even things like the organizational structure of where things sit with the emergence of go-to-market engineers and, RevOps as it is today.
Yep, absolutely. So I think first, one of the biggest challenges with like integrating AI with RevOps and kind of the different roles is one, using AI for data quality, and not always getting back, really good data. And AI systems are only as good as the data that they're trained on and the data that they operate against. So definitely AI has changed not only the RevOps role, but I think almost every single role, in every company that is out there. So we are trying to maximize that because it's not going away. We just want to be really smart about how we're using the data and, making sure that the end user too is really smart about how they're taking that data, meaning our sales reps or our BDRs. Salesforce, and so again, going back to, making sure that we start with good data about like enriching things before they come in. So making sure that our Salesforce data isn't messy. So then we're taking AI and doing scrubs with our Salesforce, and then our AI outputs will be messy as well and definitely wrong. And another part of it is, the behavior problem that's along with AI that nobody really wants to talk about. So people are not like double and triple checking their AI output. So they're taking what AI spits out as its gospel. And AI writes, a lot of summaries for sales calls, a rep pastes it into a CRM without reading it. And now your pipeline reflects what a machine thought happened that versus what actually happened. The impact with AI, like on the RevOps things, actually can make our job a lot harder because now we're not taking data that actually may have happened. We're taking an AI robot, what they're thinking has happened, and we're trying to make business decisions on data that has not been vetted to kind of answer fairly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think to your point, that's a challenge that is across the board,
Yes.
not just in revenue, but yeah, how are you going about that? Knowing that there's these kind of breakdowns in quality of the data, like what would you recommend for someone to kind of go about doing the best they can to
Yeah,
tackle that?
absolutely. I think it's just being really smart about it. As I was saying before, uh, AI is good for a lot of things. They can help you get to, a point that you may not be able to get to yourself. Like if you're not a good writer, helping you polish your writing, helping you take notes and summarize them and things like that. So we're just encouraging, the people that use it to like double and triple check it, put a human tone on it, take the time to actually like go through it again and adjust it and change it. The second thing is being really, really careful and not letting people just plug AI into everything. People want to stick it into Slack, they want to put it in Salesforce, they want to put it in Gong and all these different things. And they're not realizing that even though some companies have like a corporate, AI platform, it's still data that you're putting out there for the world, and you need to be really, really careful what you're feeding it, especially for the industries that I have been in a lot, healthcare and education. That's really private, information. So we don't want a rep like putting a list of hospitals and healthcare systems and their data through AI, even though the output to them may be good. We need to be really, really careful with the data that we're putting out there. So I just, make sure we use caution and have guardrails up before we're, doing things with AI.
Is there anything you can put in place to make sure that at least the AI is acting on, quality data? What are your best practices?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of going back to what we said before, to make sure that AI is acting on quality data is making sure the data that we're pushing to it is quality, really good, accurate data. But, and then really, being on top of the change management, like within the organization of like, okay, team, we're rolling out Chat GPT, our corporate account. Like these are the rules, these are the guardrails. And then as a RevOps, locking down our tech stack to making sure that people just can't integrate different AI directly into our tech stack.
Nice. Is there any AI tools that you're working or experimenting even in your own role to help you with your job? Or is it primarily just, implementing and, like you said, integrating tools for other teams at the moment?
Absolutely. So honestly, I'm going to give you the real answer on this. It's not a polished one yet, but I am actively experimenting. I think just like everyone else. So what I'm focused on right now is understanding like the native AI capabilities already baked into tools that I use every day, like Salesforce or HubSpot or Traction Complete, before I go adding more point solutions on top of it and trying to like plug in like a Claude or Chat GPT. Like we just mentioned, people are rushing to bolt on new AI tools without really realizing, their existing stack already has some really cool AI features and they're really safe, embedded in there. So I really am taking the time to understand like what they actually do before I start saying, yes, this is, we're going to use this and run with it, or no, this is horrible. So I'm taking, just like anything else, I'm playing with them and starting to learn them. So the tool I've gone deepest on, to be honest, is Claude. I've tried, I think, almost every, of course, not every, but multiple AI tools out there. But Claude really has been successful for me on multiple use cases on things like, oh my goodness, I'm getting this error on a flow I'm building and I can't figure it out. Can you help guide me there too? Can you polish my email, or my summary? Can you read through it? Or even sometimes I will talk in a Claude and, kind of give them a spiel of how I'm going to present at an event. And then they give me feedback on it. So, I mean, that's really great. I think some features that they can give you. And I found like the more you play with it, the more it kind of gets to know you and in your tone and understands like what you're actually trying to get out of it. So I actually really enjoy that.
And is that kind of the number one thing you're really looking for? Hey, does this fit within our existing workflows versus, a bolt on type scenario?
In regarding to AI specifically, definitely. Yeah, the safety of it, does it fit into our scenario? Absolutely.
That kind of leads me to another question in the same vein, but obviously with AI and everything kind of being bolted on now, and you mentioned Claude with the ability to build. What is your take on, build versus buy as it is today?
Absolutely. So again, my honest take, I default to build. And I know that's very different, I think, than most
Hmm.
RevOps, leaders would say, but let me tell you why. So most off-the-shelf tools are built for the average company, which means you make your business run how that tool works versus how that's backwards versus how it should be is a tool should support how you run your business, not the other way around. So I've watched companies spend a lot of money on platforms. And then you spend the next 18 months trying to bend their processes, to fit into the software, and that's not a technology problem. That is a philosophy problem. So when you build your own logic, you own the data model, you own the process. And when something breaks or changes, like, exactly where to go to fix it. So that doesn't mean that, I never buy anything. That's obviously not true. And I build every single thing from scratch. But, there are some great tools out there that give us, strong foundation and enough flexibility, like to make them ours. A lot of good examples out there. But the question I always ask before buying anything is, will this tool serve our purpose? Are we going to end up serving it? And, will it work for how we run our business versus our changing our business to work within the tool?
Very interesting. And is there an element that you're also kind of taking a look at the scalability of things? Because obviously something might be good enough for today and it'll get you to that kind of next level or serve you. And whereas, like, how do you make that transition when you're scaling and they're going from startup to high growth and enterprise, etc.?
That's a great question. So that's another kind of part of why I take a step back and not rush into technology because I want to make sure that we buy something that we can build on. So I'm always looking around the corner like, What are we going to do next? What do we need to do next? Like, if we need to grow and scale, like, how fast can I flip the switch and make this kind of go another way? So that is definitely a big part of what I look at before bringing in any technology. Somebody brings something to me like, this is going to take 18 months to build. Like, absolutely not. Like, we move so fast that we need things that are going to move how we move, that we can build and adjust. So that is a big part of how we, how I evaluate tools, is like, how fast can we scale, and how deep does the technology have to be built? For meaning, like, does this need like a JSON, build every single time I need to change something? If it does, it's not something I'm going to use, because I need to be able to move fast, and I need to, for my team to be able to do things and not have this like huge technical engineering background just to make changes in our tech stack.